What if the next food delivery you accepted wasn't from a person at all? That was the question running through Daniel's mind the night it all began. Daniel worked for Dash Drop, a food delivery service in the Midwest that kept him afloat while he tried to pay off his community college debt. Most nights were predictable: late-night burgers for drunk college kids, pizzas for lonely insomniacs, Chinese takeout orders for night shift workers. But this one, was different. It came in at 12:13 a.m., a strange time, even for him. The request was for a single cup of black coffee, not from Starbucks, not from a diner. The app listed the pickup spot as Marlowe Street Cafe. Daniel frowned. He knew the city well. There was no cafe on Marlowe Street. It was a narrow, crumbling stretch of road near the edge of town, lined with abandoned buildings and boarded-up shops. Still, the app showed a small map marker, blinking insistently. The payout was unusually high, $75 for a single delivery. Daniel almost canceled. But rent was due in 3 days, and $75 for driving a few miles? He couldn't pass that up. When he accepted, the app glitched. For a brief moment, the screen went dark, then flickered with static. He thought his phone was dying, but then the confirmation appeared. Order accepted. Pickup, Marlowe Street Cafe. Delivery address, 314 Pine Hollow Road. Daniel muttered, "What the hell is Pine Hollow?" He'd never heard of it. Still, GPS plotted a route. By the time he reached Marlowe Street, his unease had only grown. The streetlights barely worked, most of them flickering or dead. The cafe turned out to be a crumbling storefront with blacked-out windows. Yet, glowing faintly in the dust-caked glass was a neon sign, "Open." Daniel parked, heart thudding. No way this place is still in business. He stepped inside. The air smelled of burnt coffee and mildew. Dust coated every surface, but on the counter sat a lone paper cup, steaming hot, as if freshly brewed. No barista, no sound, just the low hum of the neon sign buzzing behind him. Daniel froze. "Hello?" Silence. He picked up the cup. His phone buzzed instantly with a message. Picked up. Proceed to delivery. Do not open the cup. Do not look inside. The instructions made his stomach twist. He glanced at the lid anyway, but before he could peel it back, the door creaked shut behind him. Startled, he spun around. The neon sign had gone dark, and when he stepped back outside, something was wrong. The street looked different. Buildings weren't quite where they had been. A row of houses appeared where boarded-up shops had been moments ago. It was as if the city had subtly rearranged itself while he wasn't looking. Shaking, Daniel hurried to his car. He set the cup in the holder, trying not to think about it. The GPS led him through winding roads, deeper into unfamiliar parts of town. Every turn seemed to push him further from civilization. Houses grew sparse, streetlights vanished, and soon he was driving along pitch-black wooded roads. His phone buzzed again. A new message from the Dash Drop app. Do not speak to her. Do not hand her the cup directly. Leave it at the door and walk away. Daniel muttered, "What the hell did I get myself into?" Finally, he pulled up to 314 Pine Hollow Road. The house was massive, a decaying Victorian mansion that looked ripped out of an old ghost story. Its windows were dark, except for one faint light glowing upstairs. The trees surrounding it seemed to lean closer, as though trying to block his escape. Daniel grabbed the cup and approached the porch. The wood groaned under his weight. A rotten smell clung to the air. He set the cup down carefully. That's when he heard it, a voice whispering from inside the cup. "Daniel." His blood ran cold. He stumbled back, staring at the steaming cup. It had spoken his name. The upstairs light flickered. A shadow moved past the window. Then, from inside the house came the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. Daniel backed away, heart pounding. The front door creaked open, and standing there was a woman in a long black dress, her face hidden in shadow. "Thank you for bringing it," she whispered. Daniel froze on the porch, his hands trembling at his sides. The woman in the black dress stood perfectly still, half hidden by the cracked wooden door. The faint porch light flickered overhead, illuminating only the pale outline of her jaw. Her hair fell in long dark strands concealing her face, but her voice, that whisper, felt like ice sliding across his skin. "Thank you for bringing it," she repeated, her tone fragile, almost mournful. Daniel swallowed hard. You're welcome. I'll just leave it here." He set the cup on the step and took another step back, following the app's instructions. Do not hand it to her directly. The woman didn't move. She just stood there, staring down at the cup, her breathing strangely uneven. Then, without warning, she leaned forward and whispered, "You shouldn't have looked inside." Daniel froze, his chest constricted. What? What do you mean? I didn't." Slowly, her head tilted upward, revealing part of her face. Her skin looked almost translucent, veins visible beneath like thin cracks in porcelain. Her eyes were hidden in shadow, but he could feel her gaze burning through him. Daniel's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He nearly jumped out of his skin. Pulling it out, he saw a new message from the Dash Drop app. "Leave now. Do not stay another second." He looked back up at the woman, but she was gone. The door had shut. Daniel blinked. Had she even been there at all? He sprinted back to his car, slamming the door shut and fumbling with the ignition. His breath came in ragged gasps. The house loomed in his rearview mirror, the upstairs window glowing faintly again. For a split second, he thought he saw the woman standing there, watching him. The engine finally roared to life. He tore down the dark road, gravel spitting under his tires. That's when the smell hit him. Burnt coffee. It filled the car so strongly he gagged. But he had left the cup on the porch, hadn't he? Glancing down at the cup holder, his stomach dropped. The cup was there, steam curling from its lid. No, 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 no. He swerved, nearly running off the road. The cup trembled but didn't spill, as if glued to the holder. Hands shaking, Daniel grabbed his phone again. A new message blinked on the screen. "Do not throw it away. Do not drink it. Deliver it again." Daniel's heart pounded. Deliver it again? To who? The app refreshed automatically, showing a new address. Delivery door 2, 9 Blackthorn Lane. The payout increased, $150. Daniel drove in silence, the smell of coffee clawing at his lungs. The woods around him grew thicker, darker, as if the road itself had been swallowed. The GPS directions twisted him through turns he didn't recognize, into neighborhoods that didn't belong on any map. When he finally arrived, he nearly slammed the brakes. 9 Blackthorn Lane wasn't a house. It was a motel. Or what had once been a motel. The sign was broken, its neon letters spelling only MTL. Windows were smashed, doors hung from broken hinges, and the parking lot was littered with debris. It looked abandoned for decades. Yet, one window glowed faintly with yellow light. Room 6. Daniel's phone buzzed. "Leave the cup at the door. Do not wait. Do not knock." He didn't want to get out. Every instinct screamed at him to drive away, but his body moved anyway, like something else was pulling him forward. Clutching the cup, he walked to room 6. The air grew colder with each step, his breath fogging in front of him. The door was cracked open just slightly. He placed the cup gently on the floor. For a moment, silence. Then from inside came the sound of scraping, like fingernails dragging slowly across the floor. The door creaked wider. A sliver of the room came into view. It was pitch black inside, except for a single hand reaching out, thin, gray, trembling fingers curling around the cup. Daniel stumbled back, his pulse skyrocketing. The hand pulled the cup inside. The door slammed shut with a force that shook the building. Daniel turned and bolted. He sprinted to his car, flung the door open, and jammed the keys into the ignition. But before he could start it, his phone buzzed again. He looked down. Delivery door 3, 1 to 13, Ashfield Drive. Payout, $300. And there it was again, the cup. Sitting in his cup holder, steam rising, whispering his name. Daniel. Daniel gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles whitened. His chest heaved as he stared at the impossible sight, the cup steaming in his cup holder back again. No, this can't be happening. The faint whisper rose from inside the cup, muffled but clear. Daniel, don't stop now. He shoved the cup into the passenger seat like it was a bomb about to explode. The smell of burnt coffee filled the car, stronger than ever, making his eyes water. His phone buzzed again. He didn't want to look, but his hand moved on its own. Delivery number 3, 113 Ashfield Drive. ETA. 12 minutes. Do not refuse. The payout climbed to $300. Daniel cursed under his breath. I'm done. I'm not delivering this. Screw this app. He swiped at the screen, trying to close it. But no matter how many times he tried, the app wouldn't shut down. His phone vibrated violently, flashing a single line of text over and over. Do not refuse. Do not refuse. Do not refuse. The drive to Ashfield Drive was worse than the last. His GPS twisted him into places he didn't recognize. Streets that looked wrong, stretched too long, houses sitting at crooked angles like they were sagging into the earth. When he finally pulled up, his stomach turned. 113. Ashfield Drive wasn't just abandoned, it looked rotted. The two-story house leaned to one side, its windows shattered, roof sagging, wood warped black from years of weather. Every inch of the yard was overgrown, weeds curling around a rusted swing set. And yet, one upstairs light glowed faintly yellow. Always the upstairs window, always someone watching. His phone buzzed. Leave it at the door. Do not knock. Do not wait. Daniel stepped out, his legs trembling. The grass crunched under his shoes, brittle and dry as bones. He climbed the creaking steps of the porch, set the cup down in front of the door, and turned to leave. But as he stepped back, the sound of breathing froze him in place. It wasn't coming from inside the house. It was coming from behind him. Slow, heavy, wet. Daniel turned, heart hammering, and nearly screamed. A man stood at the edge of the porch steps. Or at least, something that resembled a man. His body was bloated, skin gray-blue like he'd been pulled from water. His jaw hung slightly open, a low wheeze escaping with every exhale. His clothes were decades out of date. Suspenders, a torn work shirt, shoes caked in mud. His glassy eyes fixed on Daniel. And then, without moving his lips, Daniel heard the words. Don't deliver it anymore. The voice didn't come from the man. It came from inside Daniel's head. Daniel stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the porch rail. The man reached out a bloated hand, trembling, almost pleading. Don't deliver it anymore. Don't feed her. Before Daniel could respond, the door creaked open behind him. The bloated man's eyes widened with terror. He turned and staggered into the darkness, vanishing between the trees. Daniel whipped around. The door of 113 Ashfield Drive was wide open. The cup was gone. And inside, at the far end of the hallway, stood a figure. A little girl. Her white dress was torn and filthy, her hair tangled in long black strands that hid most of her face. She was barefoot, her toes curling against the warped wood floor. In her hands, she held the cup. Steam rose from it as she lifted her head slowly. Through the curtain of hair, Daniel caught a glimpse of her face. Her eyes were pitch black. "Thank you, Daniel," she whispered. "She's almost here." Daniel's throat tightened as the little girl's words echoed through the rotting hallway. "She's almost here." The steam rising from the cup in her hands twisted unnaturally, curling upward like black smoke. The smell of burnt coffee grew so thick Daniel gagged, stumbling back against the porch rail. He wanted to run, to drive, to leave everything behind, but his feet refused to move. His body felt like it was being held in place, anchored by something unseen. The girl tilted her head, hair sliding across her pale face. "You shouldn't have accepted the order. Daniel's phone buzzed again in his pocket. Hands shaking, he pulled it out. Delivery, Thrushker 4, 41. Hollow Bend Road. Payout, $500. His blood ran cold. "No," he whispered. "I'm not doing this anymore." The girl's lips curled into a smile too wide for her small face. "It doesn't matter. The order has already been placed." Then, without another word, she stepped backward into the darkness of the house, door shutting behind her with a violent slam that rattled the porch. The upstairs light flickered once, then went black. Daniel bolted to his car, slammed the door, and locked it. He sat shaking, trying to catch his breath, trying to tell himself this wasn't real, that he was sleep-deprived, hallucinating. But when he looked down, the cup was back, sitting perfectly in the cup holder. And this time, the lid was trembling, as if something inside was moving. The whisper came again, louder, clearer. "Drive." Daniel's hands clenched the wheel, sweat dripping down his forehead. He slammed the gas, gravel spitting beneath his tires. He didn't care where Hollow Bend Road was. He just wanted to get it over with. The directions dragged him deeper into nowhere. The woods swallowed the road. Street signs disappeared. His headlights barely cut through the mist curling across the cracked pavement. Then, at last, he saw it. 41. Hollow Bend Road. But it wasn't a house. It was a church, or what was left of one. The old wooden building leaned dangerously to one side, its steeple broken, a rusted cross hanging upside down at its peak. The front doors were splintered but open, revealing a sliver of flickering candlelight inside. Daniel's phone buzzed again. "Leave it at the altar. Do not look back." His stomach twisted. Altar? What the hell is going on? Still, he grabbed the cup, stepping out into the freezing night. The church loomed above him like a skeleton, its stained glass windows cracked and jagged like broken teeth. Inside, the air was suffocating, a mix of mold, smoke, and rot. Candles lined the walls, their flames sputtering. Wooden pews stood crooked, some broken in half. At the far end, the altar waited. He approached slowly, the sound of his own heartbeat thunderous in the silence. He set the cup down. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the candles all went out at once. The church fell into darkness, and from behind him came the sound of hundreds of footsteps, bare feet, dragging, shuffling, moving closer. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The smell of damp earth filled the air as if graves had been torn open. He spun around. The pews were now filled with figures, dozens of them, men, women, children, all with gray, sagging skin and empty eyes. Their bodies twitched unnaturally as they stared at him. In unison, their mouths opened, and a low, guttural chant filled the church. "She's coming, she's coming, she's coming." Daniel stumbled backward, colliding with the altar. The cup rattled violently, steam bursting from its lid like a geyser. The whisper grew louder, filling his skull, nearly deafening. "Almost here, Daniel. Almost here." The church doors slammed shut, and in the shadows at the far end of the room, something began to rise. Something tall. Something that didn't belong in this world. Daniel's body locked up as the shadows stretched across the ruined church. Something was rising from the altar's far side. Something taller than a man, broader than the pews, darker than the candlelit air. Its shape didn't make sense. The way its limbs bent, the way its body shifted as though it wasn't bound by bones or flesh. The congregation of corpses chanted in unison, their voices droning. "She's coming! She's coming! She's here!" Daniel stumbled back, his heel catching on a broken pew. The cup rattled on the altar, steam hissing louder, the lid bulging outward like it could no longer contain what was inside. "Stop it!" he shouted, his voice cracking. "What do you want from me?" The whisper answered, but now it wasn't faint. It was thunder in his skull. "We want you, Daniel. You accepted the order." His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out with trembling fingers. "Final delivery. Complete the order. Open the cup." Daniel's breath hitched. No, 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 I can't. The congregation fell silent. All at once, dozens of lifeless eyes turned toward him, their heads tilted at the same slow angle, mouths open but unmoving. The little girl appeared again at the aisle's end, dress dragging across the floor. She held out her hand. "Open it, Daniel. She's thirsty." The tall, shifting figure loomed closer, its shape barely human now. Too many joints, too many fingers, too many eyes blinking open and shut in the dark. The smell of rot and burnt coffee suffocated him. Daniel clutched the cup, his chest heaved, heart hammering, as the lid quivered beneath his thumb. The whisper grew desperate. "Open it!" And then he did. The lid popped off. What spilled out wasn't coffee. It was teeth. Dozens of jagged, blackened teeth clattered onto the altar, some still slick with blood. Steam hissed upward, curling into a shape. A face. Her face. The woman from the first house. The one in the black dress. Her hollow eyes locked onto Daniel. Her mouth stretched open far too wide, revealing nothing but darkness. "Thank you for delivering me," she whispered. The congregation erupted in screams, not of fear, but of worship. They clawed at the pews, tearing their rotting flesh, bowing and shrieking her name. The figure from the shadows collapsed forward, falling into a heap of bones and ash. The woman rose from it, her body forming out of the smoke, tall and terrible. Her presence filled the entire church like a storm. Daniel backed against the altar, too terrified to breathe. "Why me?" he stammered. She tilted her head. "Because you said yes." Images flooded his mind. Hundreds, no, thousands of deliveries, other drivers before him, each one lured by money, each one forced to carry the cup, each one breaking at the final order. He saw their faces, their screams, their end. And now it was his turn. The woman extended her hand. "Drink." Daniel tried to resist, but his body betrayed him. His hands lifted the cup, tilting it toward his mouth. Inside wasn't teeth anymore. It was black liquid, thicker than tar, swirling like it was alive. It hissed as it neared his lips. He fought, his throat straining, his arms trembling. But the whisper thundered, "Deliver yourself." The liquid poured into his mouth. It burned. It seared his tongue, his throat, his chest. His vision went white as he fell to the floor, convulsing. The congregation screamed and wailed, their voices deafening. The last thing Daniel saw before darkness consumed him was the woman leaning over him, smiling. "You were the last delivery, Daniel. Now it's your turn to carry the cup." When Daniel opened his eyes, he wasn't on the church floor. He was back in his car, phone buzzing, cup in the holder, new order, pick up at Marlowe Street Cafe, delivery address, blank, payout. His hands moved on their own, starting the car. The whisper was his voice now, echoing from inside the cup, and somewhere in the night, another delivery driver's phone buzzed with a new order. Daniel wasn't just a victim. He became part of the endless cycle, the next cursed delivery man.